In Huaihua City, Hunan Province, Xinhuang First Middle School is a well-known high school with 3,000 students. Among the students, a chilling tale has been passed down for generations: the haunting story of a ghost that wanders the school's sports field. Legend has it that a teacher who fell victim to foul play lies beneath the field. Welcome to Red Eastern True Crime. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to my channel. Let's dive into this story. Deng Shiping was born in 1950 in Huaihua City, Hunan Province. He got married in the 1970s and had a daughter and a son. He used to teach art and math in an elementary school. In 2001, he switched to doing logistics at Xinhuang First Middle School. Mr. Deng was known for being funny, honest, and a hard worker. He thought he would live a simple life until he retired. However, on January 22, 2003, he left for work in the morning just like any other day. And sadly, his family never saw him return home. In 2003, Xinhuang First Middle School was building a new sports field with a 400-meter track. Mr. Deng was in charge of quality control for this project. On January 22nd, just 10 days before the Chinese New Year, the sports field was more than half completed. There were machines and 2 deep holes on the site that had been left unfilled for a few months for some unknown reason. That morning, Mr. Deng went to work in the project office, near the sports field. After lunch, he played chess in the office with a colleague, Mr. Yao. Du Xiaoping, the contractor for the sports field project, was watching the chess game. Shortly after, someone called Mr. Yao out for a conversation. When he returned to the office, Mr. Deng was gone. They were the last people to see Mr. Deng. On the night of the 22nd, Mrs. Deng and the children got worried when Mr. Deng didn't come home. It was unusual because he never stayed out all night. They checked with all of his colleagues and friends, but no one had any news. Early the next morning, Mrs. Deng found the school principal, Huang Bingsong. He quickly gathered more than 70 people to search both inside and outside the school campus. Afterwards, Principal Huang assured Mrs. Deng that the school would do everything possible to find him and advised her to go home and wait for updates. Mrs. Deng, feeling tired, was reluctant to leave. Before she left, she wanted to take one more look around. As she walked through the school buildings on that cold, rainy winter day, she saw a bulldozer working on the sports field construction site. A slight confusion crossed her mind. Why were the holes that had been left untouched for months being filled in on a rainy day like today? The thought flashed through her mind but quickly faded. 2 days passed, and there was still no news. On the morning of January 25th, Mrs. Deng went to the local police station to report her husband missing. She expressed her suspicions to the police, believing that Mr. Deng's disappearance was related to Du, the contractor for the sports field construction project. Mrs. Deng explained that Mr. Deng had discovered Du's cutting corners on the project and reported the matter to Principal Huang. Since then, Du had been causing problems for Mr. Deng. Angry about Du's actions, Mr. Deng had mentioned reporting the problem to higher-ups, and Du had even threatened him. After the police received the report, they began to investigate. They soon found traces of blood in some corners of the school's sports field construction site. They later contacted Mrs. Deng and asked for DNA samples from her children for identification. However, there was no further contact from the police after that. When Mrs. Deng and her children asked, the police said they couldn't do DNA comparisons because of limited technology. In addition, Mr. Deng's disappearance didn't meet the criteria for a criminal investigation. They could only classify him as a missing person. The police said their investigation had ruled out Du as a suspect. At the same time, Xinhuang First Middle School said that Mr. Deng's disappearance was related to his fleeing with money. The Deng family did not believe that Mr. Deng would abandon them or embezzle money. They began to think that he might have been kidnapped. But as time passed with no news, They began to worry that something bad might have happened to Mr. Deng and suspected possible collusion between the school and the police in neglecting his disappearance. Mr. Deng was 53 years old at the time of his disappearance. His 75-year-old mother, a retired teacher, wrote a letter to the relevant authorities asking for help. In the letter, she said, "I believe Deng Xiping's disappearance is not normal. He may have been murdered." Strangely, the bulldozer worked at the construction site for more than 20 minutes on the 24th, filling 2 holes. "I suspect that Deng Xiping's body may have been buried there." She also mentioned, Deng Xiping was in charge of overseeing the finances of the sports field project, and he may have been targeted and harmed by someone involved in financial matters. After receiving the report, the Public Security Bureau set up a special team to investigate Mr. Deng's disappearance. After several months, they issued an investigation report stating that the legal basis for opening a criminal investigation into the disappearance was insufficient, and they decided not to open a case. The reason given was that nobody had been found, although they hadn't conducted an excavation at the sports field to check for one. Mr. Deng's sister once approached Du and asked if he had seen Mr. Deng. Du's response was evasive and seemed very uncomfortable. Later, individuals from the local prosecutor's office advised Mrs. Deng not to continue searching, stating that she wouldn't find her husband here. The Deng family felt that there was a significant effort to cover up Mr. Deng's case. Principal Huang had powerful connections, and Du happened to be Principal Huang's nephew. To avoid possible harm, the Deng family decided to move out of the town. In the days that followed, the entire family lived under great stress. During the holidays, when Mrs. Deng was with the children, they avoided talking about Mr. Deng. Meanwhile, for more than a decade, a story circulated throughout the city, especially at the school, about a teacher who was presumed to be a victim buried under the sports field. This situation continued for 16 years, until finally, in 2019, a turning point came. The central government of the Communist Party initiated a nationwide crackdown on organized crime and corruption. That year, the surveillance team for this operation began its work in Hunan province. Upon learning of this, Mr. Deng's daughter wrote a whistleblower letter to the surveillance team. The letter attracted attention, and as a result, a proper investigation into the case was launched. Before the sports field project, Du had no construction experience. He only got the project because he was Principal Huang's nephew. During the project, he used substandard materials, and Mr. Deng noticed and reported it to the principal. Later, the local education bureau received an anonymous letter. It detailed that the budget for the track project on the sports field was 900,000 yuan, but the project had not been completed and the school had already paid Du 1.4 million yuan. Someone in the education bureau informed Principal Huang about the letter, and Du suspected that Mr. Deng was the whistleblower. At the time of the investigation, Du was already in prison for other violent crimes, and refused to admit any connection to Mr. Deng's disappearance. The police found one of Du's associates, Luo Guangzhong, who was informed that Du had already confessed. Luo then confessed to everything. He revealed that Du had been planning to kill Mr. Deng for a long time in 2003. Du had instructed Luo to get some drugs, and even tested them on a prostitute. On January 22nd, Du gave bottles of drinks to Mr. Deng and Mr. Yao, who were playing chess. Mr. Deng drank it without thinking. Du then asked Luo to find an excuse to get Mr. Yao out of the room. Later, Du and Luo used duct tape to cover Mr. Deng's entire face, tied his hands and feet, and then covered his entire head with a plastic bag. Du then took a prepared hammer and beat Mr. Deng. Luo said, "Throughout the whole process, I only cooperated with Du. I turned my head away and couldn't bear to look at Mr. Deng's face." Several hours later, Mr. Yao returned to the office and could not find Mr. Deng. They tricked Mr. Yao into believing that Mr. Deng had already gone home. That evening, Du and Luo dragged Mr. Deng's body outside and dumped it in the construction pit, covering it with large rocks. The next day, despite heavy rain, many people were still searching for Mr. Deng on campus. However, Du and Luo continued to direct a bulldozer to fill in the deep hole. Under the guidance of the police, Luo pointed out the crime scene, and the excavation work started quickly. On June 18, 2019, from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., 4 excavators worked all day on the sports field of Xinhuang First Middle School, without finding anything. The Deng family waited anxiously at home. The next day, Mr. Deng's daughter came to the excavation site, hoping to bring her father home personally. At 6 p.m. on the 19th, an object resembling a human skull was discovered, and Mr. Deng's daughter couldn't hide her sadness and burst into tears. The police then began a manual excavation, and by night had found most of the remains and clothing. 3 days later, a DNA identification report confirmed that the remains dug up from the sports field belonged to Mr. Deng. Faced with the evidence, Du realized he could not change the outcome and finally came clean. Du revealed that Mr. Deng's actions, such as criticizing the quality of construction, refusing to approve substandard work, and filing a complaint, had fueled his resentment. Du disclosed the entire process of planning, carrying out the murder, and burying the body. After completing these actions, he personally told his uncle, Principal Huang. Once Huang knew, he used his connections to suppress the case. By this time, Principal Huang had retired. Under interrogation, he admitted that when he learned of Du's crime, he contacted Yang Jun, the political commissar of the Xinhuang County Public Security Bureau. Yang Jun had been his student and Du's classmate. Huang gave Yang Jun 10,000 yuan, about $1,200, and asked him to help cover up Du's crime. After receiving the money, Yang Jun approached the forensic expert, criminal investigators, and others involved in the case and instructed them not to open a criminal investigation and to treat the case as a missing persons case, putting it on hold. That's why the police collected bloodstains in the office that year, but didn't proceed with the investigation. After Mr. Deng's mother's letter of complaint reached the provincial authorities and was forwarded to the Huaihua City Public Security Bureau in Hunan Province, the forensic expert in charge of the case turned out to be the same person as the previous one, Deng Shuisheng. He had also received a bribe from Principal Huang. He once responded to Mr. Deng's son by saying, "We haven't seen Mr. Deng's body. Maybe in 7 or 8 years, when we solve other cases, we might bring this one out." Soon the police involved in the case were arrested one by one. Some police officers claimed that they were following orders from the leadership in handling the case at the time, and that they had no choice but to comply so as not to offend their superiors. Du's arrest brought joy to many people in Xinhuang County. They spread the news and reported Du's crimes to the authorities. Du, who had been spoiled since childhood and was known for his domineering behavior, worked at a local trading company after graduating from vocational school. Later, using his family connections, he took on various projects. In 2005, he opened a nightclub with the money he earned from the sports field project. Du has been married 3 times, with 1 child from each marriage. His last marriage ended before his arrest in 2019. After killing Mr. Deng, Du became even more ruthless, forming a criminal gang and committing various crimes. He engaged in loan sharking, often resorting to violence against those who could not repay, and was even involved in a stabbing. At Du's nightclub, an employee wanted to change jobs. Du publicly claimed to support her decision for her own development. A few days later, however, the woman was attacked with sulfuric acid by a stranger on the street, and a phone left at the scene was traced back to Du. Du also sent people to attack a bank employee who was pressuring him for repayment. He often failed to make payments to construction companies. In 2015, during a financial dispute with Mr. Yang, Du casually mentioned, I can buy your life for less than 500,000 RMB. Mr. Yang replied, I won't be buried like that, teacher. If you harm me, hundreds of my family members will come after you. Du was silent and his face turned red. This lawless behavior made Du a notorious local gangster in Xinhuang County. On December 17, 2019, the court heard the case in public, and a few days later, Du was sentenced to death, while his subordinate Luo received a suspended death sentence. The other 12 members of Du's criminal gang received prison sentences ranging from 1 to 8 years. On December 30, 2019, the court publicly tried the officials involved in the case. Principal Huang was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Political Commissar of the Public Security Bureau, Yang Jun, was sentenced to 15 years. Forensic expert Deng Shuixing was sentenced to 14 years. And the remaining 10 individuals received prison sentences ranging from 7 to 13 years. Du's death sentence was carried out on January 20, 2020. Mr. Deng's mother, at the age of 91, finally witnessed a re-examination of the case and waited for the criminal Du to be executed in her lifetime. Mr. Deng's son said on Weibo that his father's straightforward and honest personality, characterized by the courage to speak the truth, had hurt him. He expressed gratitude for the Communist Party's policies, the significant anti-crime campaign, and the support of the Central Inspection Team staff. This support allowed his father, who had been missing for 16 years, to finally clear his name. In the end, Mr. Deng was recognized as a victim of work-related injury. His family received a one-time compensation payment of 880,000 RMB, approximately $130,000. As for the whistleblower letter, it was found that Mr. Deng was not the one who sent it. It was written by another teacher. In March 2020, Mr. Deng was laid to rest by his family in Changsha City, Hunan Province. We hope that the soul left behind on the sports field can finally find peace. In the episode on wrongful conviction in China, we discussed the case of Ni Shubin, which involved a good police officer, Officer Zheng. Officer Zheng was fired for persistently investigating the case. Although he didn't personally push for a review of the case, he took the initiative to contact the media and expose the case, which brought the case to widespread public attention. Unfortunately, there was no such thing as a good cop in Mr. Deng's case. What are your thoughts on this case? Please share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel.